Chapter 14 Bud. Oliver. After a good sleep, it is once again the sweet light of morning. These are words so I may see, and I am counselled by them. And nothing, not the malice of poisonous acts, nor the masks of human despair, could close my eyes, turn me dark, or make me bitter. There's a reassuring word that compels me to find it. No matter the dispirit of our current days, it is a constant promise. I keep watch over the promise of our world, same way as I watch the February scene before me, dynamic even in winter, even in the depths and dark. There are tiny pops of color on branches, and rhizomes not lost to life, but patient within the frozen land. Something wants to sprout. It's a tight and potent force on the twigs of trees. It's in each stone and frog and person. This potency is self in the making. It is selflessness, too. Selfless because, though the potency is an inner someone, really, it is the how and meaning of becoming. And like a child stuck inside on a warm sunny day, this how and meaning wants to come out. This bud of us all, provided for by space, sung to by time, wishes to grow. I could stay put, snug at home, where it's comfortable, just after 7 on a Thursday morning, here at my desk. Or I could venture forth on this cold February day into the monochrome landscape, into the grays, the browns, the sunny weekday tans. I could open the front door, cross the paved road, plod along the frozen ground to the ash and hawthorn trees at the edge of the woods, the famous sugar maples that are my friends, their sweet sap holding fast inside their phloem. I could put my hands on those trees to warm them. Or, knowing the day will come soon enough when the morning sun will bring the heat, I could simply walk on without touching, move past the musselwood with its smooth ripped bark, its beachy blue soul, stepping deeper into the woods to the rocky hillside where the chestnut oaks and great green hemlocks grow. I could lose my balance upon that slope, stumbling up and down the snowless terrain, holding to wrathless grapevines and the hundreds of accommodating limbs, crunching the dry leaves, snapping sticks as I go. And maybe that would be enough venturing out for the day. But seeing as this is all an imaginary trek, why not keep on? I'm not tired yet, as I picture it from my desk. So I'll continue. And I easily find the northern path into town. It's a long walk for sure, but who cares? And there, in town, I'm not quite myself, but instead typical, like early morning traffic. Coffee mug in hand, I walk down the street, seeing my face reflected in shop windows, nodding to strangers, patting a dog with friendly eyes, counting the bolts on a fire hydrant, and finally greeting the stonemason and his daughter, Ever. "Hello," I say. "How's it going?" the man says back. "Good, good," I tell him. "And guess what? Guess what?" I say. "I saw a deer this morning on the way to town." And the stonemason nods and says, "Guess what? I saw a deer on the way to town too." And the daughter, Ever, in a moment of wit, says to us, "How do you both know those deers were on their way to town?" I smile at that. The world is full of humor. The world has got plenty of early morning light as well. Not a cloud in the sky, no sign of snow. The stonemason and his daughter have walked off, and I am left to contemplate the sidewalk and other concrete things. But what, I wonder as I contemplate, what if I had gone the other direction in my imaginary walk? So I'll do that now and see what happens. And instead of going north into town, I head south to the pond. The pond is where I usually go. That is my true typical. And it comes quick as I think about it, or maybe I'm just a fast walker. There at the pond, I can catch some early rays with a quiet mind. Now, I really see what comes to those who are patient. One of the first things I see at the pond are cattails. Their brown broken stalks glow when you look at them early. It's a fine picture. In fact, the pond's entire surface has been painted on by the artist Ice N. Frost, renowned for her brushstrokes. I have some of her works on my windows and on the unpainted hutch where I keep my axe and shovel and the 5-gallon bucket of bird food. There's a knot on one board of the hutch that looks like a moonrise over a mountain somewhere in Asia, worth $20,000 to any collector, but they would have to come quick to collect it, because when the sun hits the hutch mid-morning, the frosty landscape will be gone. But back to the pond. Everyone says that the pond, too, is a masterpiece, priceless for days to come, rich with slippery details from how the water chose to freeze a week ago. And it is hard to disagree with something when everyone says it. At that very pond last night, it was near 8 o'clock, I tested the ice for stability. This was not in my imagination, it was for real. I had to be sure about the thickness of ice for reasons to be disclosed shortly. Last night, the full moon rose over the trees here in upstate New York. Its light flowered onto the frozen landscape, pondscape actually, dropping shimmering petals one by one. My weight plus the weight of the petals seemed no problem for the ice. Everything held, which was as reassuring to know as it was beautiful to see. And I said as much out loud. I said it to the pond and also to Theo, as if he, too, stood with me, wondering. "You've got to speak up for unrealized beauty." Well, that's pretty much what I said, adding after a span of quiet that was disconcerting to the pond and the surrounding trees. "The world needs our involvement." I waited. Waited some more. Looked at the moonlit pond. Got no response. None. Not even for all the time I was giving. Ponds in winter are notoriously reserved. People are like that as well sometimes. No problem. Though still I had questions. "What's it like being frozen?" I asked. "Do you wish you could move on your own again, rippling, lapping, rising as mist?" By that time, I wasn't sure anymore who I was talking to. There are days I've found you know who is with you. Other days, there's no telling for sure. Still, I like to speak every word with utter possibility. I like to give all things a chance in the conversation. After the testing of the ice last night, after my unanswered questions, I made my way back to the banks. A frigid wind blew past, which was the sound of winter, but not its soul. The soul of winter does not blow past. It sticks with you. It holds you close as if you were its greatest wish. That may be true, but I also think the winter just wants to warm itself, and that's why it tries to enter your bones. Anyway, there I was, alone with who knows who, warming the winter soul, but myself being near frozen. I stood, cold air my only blanket, my fingers and toes and the bare of my cheeks feeling the frosty, soft spread of things. And as I stood, absorbing the cold, welcoming it in my body as best I could, I heard something that startled me. Snap of a branch, bump in the night. I turned my head, and there it was, a coyote. The dark shape materialized from seemingly nowhere, the way Theo sometimes pops in after months away, after I've thought that maybe he has moved on, but of course he hasn't. It wasn't Theo this time, though. It was another beautiful life whose eyes flashed at me because of the moon. "You're in my way," I heard through the cold. What the fuck in my private world are you doing?" The coyote, grumpy, spoke across the way. "Only testing things," I said, "not meaning to interfere." And I held still, like sap in winter maples or like an unaffected self. But I was affected. The coyote's eyes had given me grief. They flashed again before she turned to go. She was annoyed with my presence, annoyed with my answer. As the creature disappeared into the dark, I knew I had brought out the worst in her. Truth is, however, she probably had it in her some to begin with. The bitter feeling, I mean. A soul cannot be turned into anger. It harbors that anger mostly against its will. It leans on it as though anger is a home. A sullen soul is disagreeable until it learns to lean the other way, whereupon it finds a much better home in agreement. There are endless agreements to build upon. It's what I tell Theo. It's what I would have told the coyote had she stayed. But she took off fast. And such agreements as I stood there looking into the darkness take time. Last night I saw time in the coyote and in each dark tree. I saw it in the pond and the moon. I saw time in myself, too. It takes time to see time. It takes time to understand one another. And if I were ever to give up on my time with the world, if I did not stay involved, I would dissociate from my family. That would be the beginning of my downfall. Day by day I would come apart. I'd forget that the earth is a place for us all, not only the living, but also the quiet stones, the ice crystals, even the dead who sometimes have difficulty believing in themselves. And if I were not involved, then where would I be? Trapped in myself, disconnected from it all. I'd be stuck in a truly dark place, that's for certain. Feeling out of time, that's for sure. Unable to move on my own because all of my ownness was suffering in isolation, suffering because of connections I was afraid of. Suffering because I had made myself out of thoughts and things I did not yet have a mind for. Suffering because my whole long story was built of things I knew only the half of. Oh my. Coyote, pond, moon, world, Theo. What is it about ourselves that we see only the half of, that we do not know any better? What is it that we suffer with daily that if we saw the reassuring whole, we wouldn't be so frightened, wouldn't suffer so? It is good to see things more fully, that's all I'm saying. Even if only to know that you can change the story when it's not working out. Change the language. Use better words. Language can be tricky to get right. It is day in, day out living, day in, day out attention just to get to the words, the whole language of life, and not just the half of it. And when you do that, when you hear in your heart that more complete sound, it is very telling. That was last night, at the pond, in the moonlight. This is a new day, morning at my window, in the sweet early light. I've got plans for today. They don't include going out just yet. No walk into town for coffee, and no pond hike, though that would be nice. You can't always break away from what you've got to get done and go traipsing in nature. I'm at my desk, Friday, February 13th, 7:41 a.m., feeling lucky. I'm waiting for my sister and niece. Olia is bringing Cricket to my house to visit. Usually I go south to see them, but they want to skate on the pond, which is why I had to test it. They want to experience the frozen north. They want to see coyotes, bears, if possible, winter whitetails in the hill country here, ice art upon my tool hutch, hoar-frost by the light of the moon. Leah's greatest hope is to see drifts of snow, snow on the rooftops, snow plows scraping the roads. She wants to see soft white settlements on every limb and ledge, wants to shake the limbs and see what falls. Good luck with that, I told her last night on the phone. The forecast is for clear skies and bitter cold temperatures. No precipitation in the picture, unless it's man-made, for skiing in the Catskills. Business as usual out there. After the mechanical storm dropped 5 inches of ice pellets in time for this weekend's rush. I agree with Olia about the appeal of snow. Fresh falling snow draws the soul right out of the body. The soul then settles with the flakes upon cedars and rock walls. It fills buckets you forgot to store for the season. It covers acres in wonder, 8 inches deep. I have told Leah, however, that there are other things to see here besides snow. I don't have it all planned out, but there are a few things I want to show her and her mother. The frosty art on my tool hutch is one, the stream behind the school another. It's got some trickle to it still, and I've even seen a fox down there looking for mice in the loose stone walls. There are cows with steamy breath in Margot the farmer's barn, plus 2 horses in her stable that is packed with straw. There's a meadow vole I met the other day, and a red-tailed hawk out looking for that vole. With Leah in mind, I spoke to the hawk, but I didn't tell it where the vole lives. Leah loves birds. Nevertheless, she and I don't want to see anyone get hurt. She's a modern-day St. Francis, just like her mother. Loves cats, dogs, bears, cows, horses, frogs, white-tailed deer, foxes, cottontails. She'd never heard a vole or a mouse or a February spider disturbed from its inner woodpile. All animals bring her enormous pleasure and unconditional joy. And speaking of joy, I can show my sister and niece the buds. Buds are my thing. All the buds I've seen of late. Buds on the basswood, buds on the hickory, buds of pointy brown hope on the sugar maple trees. I will show Cricket and Leah the colorful seeds of ongoing life, if we can find them. We can pull down a branch and see for ourselves. We can touch and feel the soft perseverance in each bud. We can hold in our hearts the tiniest forms that patiently wait to blossom big. And it is not only on branches. Well, this is my point about buds. They poke from every self, from every dream of becoming. They are potent on earth. And upon the night sky salted with stars, it's a budding masterpiece. All things are here to bloom. As my friend Galway once said, the bud stands for all things, even for those things that don't flower. For everything flowers from within, of self-blessing, though sometimes it is necessary to reteach a thing its loveliness. And I agree with my poet friend. Some of us need to reteach loveliness, while others need to wake up to its nearby lesson. The lesson is everywhere. It is a fundamental truth. The world, like any painting or poem or homemade soup, longs to be appreciated. It longs not as a generic whole, but in all its specifics. The unique bud of every tree, the frost crystals on mosses, the shy spider hiding in the corner. And that coyote I spoke with last night, the one with the flashy eyes. And the longing does not stop at wishing to be looked at. It runs deeper. It's a longing for connection, for touch, for correspondence, for love. That there may be meaning in life. That it be no mystery. That meaning may appear clearly in every blessed one of us, in each family member, as a faithful light, and that meaning be shared. I look at the world, which is all of us. Sometimes we are one word, a beautiful bud. Other times the word of our world bursts into multitudes. All the specifics. I look at the world, the word, the multitudes, and in how I look I long to see. No lostness of heart, but foundness of being. Much is decided for us by how we look at things. For example, I carry time in my body. I carry its embedded duration. That's one way to look at things. Many have a different picture of time, a flowing river that carries you, your body, your sister, a niece, a cork, a leaf, a river that carries stuff on its surface. That's a good picture, too. A river of your time that flows from birth in the spring all the way to the mouth, which is the final breath of you. The river, many would say, is time itself, and it carries all upon its back. I, however, know that I do the carrying. I do the work on this earth, and time is my given, my fuel. It is an unknown limit of certainty, granted my body. Time is contained in my being, attached to the physical, as it is to a rock, or a cloud, or a sleeping mouse. There is a mouse in my house at this moment. As my friend E.B. once wrote, she is full of the joy of life and the fear of dogs. Well, yes to the joy, but no to the fear, as I have no pets other than her. The mouse of my house sleeps during the day. I do not know where she sleeps, but I do not hear her moving about, so I figure she's resting. Then at night I hear her in the walls. She wakes and scurries about. She comes out looking for food. There are doors for her everywhere. I leave crumbs here and there, mostly by accident. She finds those crumbs always. I wish that she'd go outside, but it is winter, so I let her stay. Leah and she will become fast friends, I'm sure. Mice are specific bearers and movers of time. The mouse in my house has its own time linked to its gray fleet soul. I have my time linked to my slow, outdated body. I don't feel slow, not old either at 72, but I am no match for a mouse in quickness. She could have full reign of my house, back and forth, up and down, if she wanted. Lucky for me, she only wants crumbs, warmth, and safety from predators, even imaginary dogs. My point is not really to do with mice, however. It's to do with time. 7:53 on the clock is one time. The arrival of crickets in Olia's plane is another. Whatever time we've got, it's got to be here, at least while we are alive on Earth. I carry time as long as I live, down all roads, through each season. When I die, I will see things differently, though. Time and I will become disconnected. This does not trouble me, but I'm interested. When I'm dead, I will begin to notice how all time of the afterlife runs uncontained in the spirit of freedom. It will hang out on all sides of me, just not on the inside. When I die, I will be able to move through time, finding different moments in history if I am able. Moments such as my birth into my mother's arms, my father's arms, too, and the time when I lost my first tooth, or the time I hit a game-winning home run in the state championship against Crisfield, 11th grade, 16 years old, field so fenceless and far that it forgot for a moment all about endings. I sent a shot down the left field line, watching it soar, and I ran and ran, arriving home with time to spare. Sherry came up to me after the game, all smiles, holding a stick in my face like it was a microphone, saying, "The world wants to know. It wants to know, how does Oliver Birch feel right now? Does it get any better than this?" And I said, typical of me, not wanting to sound like a cliché, "This is pretty good, but I think there's more to life." In my death, after visiting that feel-good moment in history, I will be able to move on to the times on either side. Good times and sad times. I will be able to move from time, to things I forgot because, well, you can't remember everything. I'll be able to move from moment to moment, to things I missed out on because I let them escape my attention. It just happens. You don't mean to miss things, but you do anyway. And you don't know what you have missed until, if you get a chance to revisit the moment, you suddenly see, as if for the first time. After I'm dead, instead of carrying time, I will visit it from the outside, seeing things differently. Things won't escape my sight any longer. And all the while I'm moving through time, seeing it from a new perspective, I will be carrying space, every acre of it, in my onward soul. You see, here on Earth, we carry time and move through space. But when we die, we carry space and move through time, which is an interesting idea. That now I carry all of time in my body. I carry it from my home to the bank and the grocery. But when I am dead, I will do things differently. I won't carry time any longer, but rather I will carry the universe inside me, unable to pinpoint my existence. I will be here and there. I will be home and away. I will be Earth every latitude, and Venus, morning and evening star combined. I will be Neptune and the moon, both the waning and the waxing, both full and the new in the self-same soul. I will be the Milky Way, including Betelgeuse and the sun. Andromeda and the butterfly galaxy will be inseparable from me. It will be no distance from one thing to anything else. I just won't have my own space any longer. How tight it will be I can only imagine. Bewildering, too, I assume, until I make sense of the unearthly existence. It will be a curious experience upon my death, time traveling with the entire cosmos packed inside. But slowly, as suggested earlier, I will gain some perspective, I will adjust to the unity, but also I suspect I will begin to feel that I need a room of my own in order to better reflect on things. I will need some separation so that I can learn from others. I'll see that I'm not meant to be gallivanting around so timeless and at one. I will have to get down to specifics again. And so I will gather a bit of time, enough to suit my plans. Others will help. However, it will be my game. I will put that time inside me and begin to shake off the universe. I will know I am meant to be born on earth again, a bit bumbling and awkward to begin with, but with definite prospects. I'll feel infinite intention to get to know things for myself, from the outside in, and not know them for the first time, but know them again as happens in memory, and not the same way again, but if possible more sincerely and with deeper appreciation, so my role upon the earth can be better played than before. With practice comes improvement, which is reincarnation in a nutshell. I'm getting ahead of myself. It's a few minutes past 8 o'clock, the Ides of February. There's plenty of life ahead. Venus and Mars are in conjunction this morning, joined closely by Saturn, Jupiter, and Pluto in a heavenly council. I have no worries. I am not in the least way sick. Not yet dying, though dying to see my sister and niece come through my door. And though, yes, I feel some pain of existence, most of the pain I feel is not physical. More, there's this relentless concern about others. It's a lot of misunderstanding and dispiritedness that's going around these days, like a virus. I feel anxiety in the trees, for example, the way whole stands die because of an environmental imbalance. I feel worry in caves, the way the sun can't get through the thick rock walls. And I feel agony in people, the way they wonder whether anything good will ever come to them. Good, like clean water from the faucet when you are most thirsty. Good like snow, when you've been waiting forever to see it. Or good like hope. Hope for the future. Hope is easy to say and wish for, but so difficult to make it come true. This morning light is crystallizing things for me. It clears the air. It lays the groundwork. Not to sound boastful, but I feel presentient. Clairvoyant some. Clairvoyant enough that I think the plane has just landed in Albany. 8:18, 7 minutes ahead of schedule. I see it taxiing on the runway. Now coming to a stop at the gate. In fact, I'm seeing so clearly at the moment, I think I should say something. I should say something out loud to Theo. I'm very certain that he's here. Much that we understand, I say, comes from the pain we live with and learn to transform. Every existence is rooted to blossom. Rooted or routed? Asks Theo. Both, I guess, I say. You guess? I thought you were certain. I am about some things, I tell him. Sad he's still here after all these years, but not sad that he's found me again, as is his way. Cricket just phoned to say they've landed. They'll be here a little after 10, driving from the airport in Albany. I saw her last in the summer. She'd just turned 69. It was her birthday, August, and we drove past our house in Maryland. Eli was with us. He was finishing a novel, not while in the car, though likely he was thinking about it. A fiction based on Harriet Tubman and an imaginary friend, Sarah. Everybody is a kin. Well, that was the title. In the book, there is a scene of Harriet slogging her way through what would eventually become the Blackwater Wildlife Refuge on the eastern shore of Maryland. "It's a fact," said Eli. "That marshy world was her first home." I didn't doubt it. I told him I liked the title, and he told me he was thinking of changing it to "Everybody is Lord God Almighty," or maybe "Walking to Freedom with Unseen Powers." But I said I hoped he didn't change the title. I told a telling fact I knew about Harriet, that her first cradle was carved by her father from the trunk of a sweet gum tree. She was at home in the world, I said, even if it was a world that took her down. Then Cricket chirped in about the scene from Eli's book at Blackwater. "He's a nature writer at heart," she said, as we stared at our old house from the street. "You can hear the mosquitoes whine right there on the page, tufts of marsh grass at low tide, an old loblolly all by itself overlooking the sparkling water, bald eagles circling above. He's a painter of the landscape. America, the land of the free." I could picture it, and looked forward to the book. Then Harriet comes with her complimentary guidance, and this is where the book really shines. Eli lays out our human responsibilities just like a teacher, but a good one, the best, and we know that America and the world can be a true and beautiful place if we see to it. "Speaking of seeing to it," began Eli, "do you want to go knock on the door?" But neither of us wanted that. It was enough to pause and remember. The house as a repository, a resting place for memories. No need to go in. Better to go on. Later that day, I gave Cricket a poem that I'd written, having recently found an interest in poetry. I watch cows and go on. First in line, watching as they cross the road. I bear my own time so that time and I may be one introspective self, as the afternoon sun falls upon the farmer, and she enters the field where the milkweed grows. I follow cows lumbering home, their bulk square bodies, their browns and whites and ruminant ways, how they chew things over, under the clouds. I get it. They are good at what they do, slow and sure. And last in line, Boss Laurie looks back at me, shakes off flies. I've got to go too upon this road, this earth, and every day onwards, before the car behind me honks. Honey locusts growing near, and the green light of clover so acceptingly close, that here I am, all beings in my wake whose bodies I'm built on. And my line of sight, now that the beasts have crossed, extends beyond the field, into futures where even cows are free. They knocked, just loud enough. I opened the front door. Olia, first thing. She gave me a hug before we even said hello. Standing outside, Cricket reached into her pocket and pulled out a rock. It was a fossil that she'd found. She thought it beautiful. I agreed. She handed it to me, and I rubbed the petrified form in my palm. I was touched to be given such gifts as those, the hug, the rock, and it wasn't even my birthday. Cricket then gave me a hug of her own, which I knew had been itching to come out. And the February air, not wishing to be left out of the giving, began to fill the house with its generous chill. We went inside and shut the door. Late afternoon, Theo came with us as we walked to the pond where I'd seen the coyote the night before. There was something I'd been thinking to say, composing it inside, not yet willing to share. This is a story of our shared existence, a story of our family and how, though we are responsible for one another, each person also has his duty to life. Each of us must reach wide his arms and include life without thinking, must include the big, beautiful, and bashful being of life, as if it were a friend who needs our help. Well, that will be the prologue. Chapter 1 will get right to it. A man walks upon the frozen creek. Others watch him from the shore, worried he might fall in. He might die and be gone. He walks in the direction of the bay, heading for the open ocean, getting smaller and smaller in this winter-frozen world. Is this man running away? Is he moving towards? Does he even know what he is doing? That's all I've got at the moment. Didn't want to share it, though, so I kept it to myself. And as we walked, Theo and I, with Cricket and Olia all in a row, I said nothing of my unwritten work. Through the field we walked past my favorite ash, tree of the sun, fast asleep inside its diamond bark. Fast asleep, and it was not even 4 o'clock. "Are you working on anything?" Cricket asked. "I've got a few ideas," I said. "How about you? What are you reading?" "A book about moss," said Cricket. "Papa always said that mosses could save the planet. They absorb so much carbon." "I looked up facts about mosses," said Olia. "Funny thing came up in my research. I learned that he was 80 when he led Israel out of Egypt. 80, Uncle O. The man lived to be 120. That's really old to be wandering." "Seems you got Moses and mosses mixed up," I said, as we continued toward the pond. Theo stayed put on the inside. He didn't even blink at the mix-up. For almost 59 years of death he has involved himself with me. Not as long as Moses, but long enough. We all knew exactly when it was he killed himself. But as we went on the path through the field, he did nothing to acknowledge his suicide way back. Of course, why would he? I think seeing me and Cricket together made him aware of it, though. At least aware of what he'd given up back in his day. Time with his sister, doing stuff in the world, family stuff, spending time with others, out under the sun. I didn't want to point this out to him, even though the sun gleamed it, almost shouting in our eyes. Instead, I pointed out buds as we went. Ones on a cottonwood tree, tiny yellow buds on the bitternut hickory. "They are alternate," said Cricket, who knows about the arrangement of buds on stems. She learned from our father that if you have no interest in plants, it is because you haven't botany. Leah, who has heard that joke too many times, quickly changed the topic to birds. She would buy a bird over a tree any day. Well, maybe not buy, but look at, yes. So where was my hawk? She wondered. I had told her about my friend Redtail. It was well adapted for life in the air, and Leah wanted to see it. We tilted our heads to the bitternut branches. We saw a scraggle of limbs, but no bird. "At the pond it's open. That's where I saw it last," I said. The blue sky sung a cappella. Not one thrilling scream of a red-tailed hawk. Not one instrumental cloud to be seen. Just the sun in all its bluster. "I was conceived when there was no sun," said Theo, barely perceptible. But I didn't want to talk about that. It was old talk, when what we needed was new. We all wanted something smooth and graceful, like the glide of a hawk passing through the air on its way to a perch, or the possibility of snow as seen in low gray clouds, a red-winged blackbird to remind us of spring, or a bear, a lone bear, just one winter bear, making its way when you least expect it. At the pond, sun going down, Leah went on to the ice. "Is it safe?" she asked. "You're walking on thin ice," I joked. Seeing her hesitate, I assured her by going onto the ice myself and stomping. Cricket put on skates that I had borrowed from a friend. She tightened the laces with icy fingers. "Is Theo still with us?" she asked, putting on her mittens again. "Theo?" I was surprised by her perception. "Does he skate?" "I don't know." "Haven't you ever asked?" "No." "My God, Ollie. Sometimes you have to ask to find out what's important." It's true. Would have been easy to ask if he liked to skate, though she probably meant something else by her comment. More likely, Cricket was suggesting that I never found out what deep down Theo needs. But I have asked about that. Over the years, as best I can, I've made sure he knows I'm here for him. Which isn't exactly asking, but it is giving him the space to say things. I've been waiting for him to tell me what he needs for a long time. He has never made it easy to help him. And now, if I have any worries, it's that I worry I'm taking him for granted. Just watching the wind bend the trees and seeing the trees bend back into place. Not insisting anymore, not pushing him, never getting frustrated, only more and more accepting. Leah is a model of acceptance. She accepted that my friend Redtail wasn't here at the moment. She accepted the ice of the pond. She accepted the skates I handed her. The skates were a bit large, but she had 2 pair of socks to make up the difference. "Where are yours?" she asked. "I haven't bought any," I said, which was perfect timing, and I thought I saw a smile, but it may have only been the light playing tricks. I walked on the ice with my relative skaters. Leo was good, having played hockey in college for 2 years. Cricket, unsteady at first, soon got the hang of it. And I watched them move in arcs and spins and sometimes falls. The canvas of ice showed each brush stroke painted by their skates. New white lines and frost etchings upon the glassy surface. Something Thomas Cole may have admired. Susie Barstow and her fine winter scenes. I've been looking into painters lately. The Hudson Valley School, Impressionism, the Expressionists. I bent to look more closely at the art. I saw embedded bubbles, leaves, twigs, a candy wrapper. I saw landscapes in the ice, one that looked like mountains and mist, one of stars in the night sky, one of the moon straight out of Narnia over the White Witch's kingdom. I moved to a different place and saw a figure that looked like a man holding a branch, and the branch became rivers that reached my feet. I stood in frozen rivers, imagining oceans, one for every river, 7 to be exact, 7 seas, Arctic, Antarctic, North Pacific, South Pacific, North Atlantic, South Atlantic, and Indian, the list coming back to me from when I was 10, and could name all the capital cities in America, even Pierre. When I shifted, things changed. I saw what looked like 3 cranes, side by side, all looking left, their almond bodies and pointed beaks. What were they so interested in? Whatever it was, they couldn't get enough of it, but also they couldn't get there. They looked with great desire, but just could not move. The legs of the birds were stuck in sparkly frost upon the pane of ice. I brushed aside the frost, wanting to help. My brushing, however, did little more than erase what hope the stuck birds had, as it wiped away their legs, exposing only a greater pain. I felt bad, not because of my pun, but for what I had done to the birds. In sympathy with the cranes, Cricket fell, bumping her knee. Leah helped her up. There were no tears, as happens with young children, only more dancing on the ice, this time together, mother and daughter holding mittened hands. They looped each other about the rink, sun almost down. In whizzes and shrieks they looped. I listened to the happy cries, to the scritch and scratch of their duet. Leah then let go of her mother. She went her own way, saying something I did not hear. She glided to the far side, stepped from the pond, skates and all, and vanished among the cattails and shrubs. She has never been one to go far away from home, always having lived in the same town, Easton, now in an apartment near her parents. She likes the shorebirds of the Chesapeake Bay, all the aquatic animals of the region, the snapping turtles, nutria, sea nettles, crabs. But she came here anyway to see about bears and coyotes, in hopes of snow. She's the youngest of my sister's children, the best of all skaters. And then she headed off across the ice to the other side, as though reflected there was something far more interesting about herself. I pointed this out to Theo, who felt an affinity for Leah. "I didn't expect her to go off like that," I said inside. "Go off? Go off? She doesn't go off. She's calm as can be." Theo saw what I saw. He always has. It's never been enough to make a difference for him, though. Still, I won't stop looking, trying to find the living sense in what I see. I looked back at the ice, surface patterns, intricacies. When the pond froze, bubbles appeared in the ice, creatures of air frozen in place. There they are, I thought, motionless, waiting for warmth to release them. There were cracks in the ice that held the light, turning the surface into a puzzle. Cricket came to a stop beside me. She held on to my shoulder. "I used to be a better skater. Eli and I went to Ontario before children." "Is it good ice in Ontario?" "It is. Do you know what that bush is at the left side over there? The one with the yellow buds?" "Spice bush, I call it. The buds will open into tiny yellow flowers. The flowers come first, before the leaves." "Look at you, Mr. Plantman." "There's more color in the winter than you'd think," I said. "All the buds, purple waxy stalks of the black-cap raspberry." We both stared off into the distance as if to see. What was it we saw? Not Leah. "Where'd she go?" I asked. "To find your coyote," said Cricket. "She can't go far in skates." Looking at the frozen pond, I thought how one thing, like a bubble or a leaf, can be involved in another, like ice. Involution, becoming involved as we evolve. I thought Cricket would be interested in the idea. I told her how I might form it into an article, or even a book, the way Eli took Harriet Tubman and made a book of her. But Cricket was too distracted to be interested. Turns out she was getting worried about Leah. We sat at the edge of the pond, listening for signs. Cricket put on her boots, and we walked around the pond to the far side where we had last seen her daughter. The low sun shone through the tree trunks, and the pond, frozen as it was, held colors of the sunset. There were oranges and pinks, gleaming yellows, and feathery remains of cattails and phragmites at the edge, worn by winter tan and dry. Cricket broke off a stalk as we went by. "Bunny! Bunny!" she called. "Yoo-hoo! Bunny!" The tall trees, in their communal sleep, inclined our way. We did not need their dreamy minds, though. We needed my red-tailed hawk, with his alert eyes in the evening. We needed someone who preyed on the slightest movements, the tiniest breath. We needed sharpness and a keen sense of others. The trees, though looking good in their winter wear, were far too drowsy to be of much help. "Do you remember," I asked as we walked, "the story Mama told of the woman who fell from the sky?" "What sky?" "The sky, this sky." "I don't know," said Cricket. "Yes, you do. She needed a world, and so it was made for her on the back of a turtle." Cricket remembered. She didn't want to say. Turtles, when she was a girl, were one of her favorite animals. "Leah has 3 turtles at her apartment. Eli is feeding them while we're away." "That's 3 new worlds to build on," I said. "One is enough to worry about," said Cricket. We walked into the woods, wondering where Leah could have gone. Any moment can jog your memory. The past and the present associate for a reason. They come together to see who you have become, to see if you've become old enough, new enough even, to understand what you remember from a different perspective. "What's your point?" asked Cricket after a while. "About what?" "The woman who fell from the sky." Cricket was annoyed that I was bringing up stories when her daughter could have been at that very moment in the grips of a bear, being mauled. "There are bears here," I agreed, sensing her concern, "but they'd likely be hibernating now. Besides, they are more afraid of us than we are of them." "Why are you talking about bears?" said Cricket. "Because I knew what my sister was like. Bears, coyotes, wolves, bunnies being eaten, troubles and problems everywhere. She was always worried about something. We went further into the woods, calling. The sun wasn't a sun any longer. It was a last blast of brightness being sucked into the ground through the trunks of trees in front. "Leah! Bunny!" "She's native," I told my sister. "She knows this world. She knows where she lives. This is your place. Why would she just go into the woods without us?" "You said for my coyote." "Why she need your coyote?" "To see for herself," I suggested. "What can you even see in this light?" "Best time of day," I told Cricket. "The moment before the sun, moment just after. Those are the times I like the most. She's the only one of my children that likes to stick around home, doesn't travel on her own. It's when you can see the spiritual in the world." "What are you talking about?" "How you can see this time of day in this light." "We're not talking about you." "I wasn't," I said. "I'm talking about anyone. Anyone who's anyone." "There's so much to be interested in right here," I said. "Leah's like you in that. If she's so much like me, she'd know how I feel." I recognized I was making things worse by talking. It was difficult to see where the path was going, the sun now down and the ground turning dark. Just last night I'd been out here in the moonlight talking with a coyote. I loved that coyote, no matter her annoyance with me. And then the animal was gone, before any reconciliation. Though maybe the night washed away the hurdles, and we would meet again now, today, and approach each other better. And I loved my niece this evening more than ever, as if love increases and you don't even know it, or you increase and love along with you. I loved Olia's childlike soul. She was an olive tree cultivated since 400 BC, a tree with a sacred history, a memory of all that is good in the human being, all that is peaceful and harmonious in our beginnings, from times when our consciousness took comfort among the stars, and in the mothering of water and light, the fathering of salt and air. She is not one who fights for the future, except to say that our future is something we already hold inside, and we aren't even aware. Can't you see? Don't you get it? A nurse in the hospital emergency room back home. You are broken today, Olia says, but it's not who you are. She longs for every body, every soul, every spirit, every one to be harmonious again. That is the olive tree in her, and I've heard it said that, if necessary, a person can survive on olives alone. Let's turn around, I said. We can't see. You just said anyone can. I know. Look, maybe she circled around and is back at the pond. Cricket liked that thought. We both called once more. We sent our concerns out among the hemlocks, the oaks, the curious grapevines that tangled the distance, before we headed back to the pond. Cricket continued calling every so often. Her voice went off into the darkening world. We didn't know what it found, however, as the voice never came back from its search. I remember a time when we were young, the two of us, Cricket and I. We'd gotten lost in the Maryland woods near our grandmother's house. It was growing dark then, too. Cricket was 8 and scared, and I was responsible. But the world was tolerant of me. It made me feel I was doing the right thing, guarding our safety with my calm. We found a large tree to sit beneath, and I told old stories till she fell asleep. A beech, I later learned about that tree. I also learned it is not a hardship to be lost. The air bears lostness. It suffers our lostness and carries it to whoever might be awake enough to feel the ache and uncover the need. And the trees bear lostness too. Beeches do. Sycamores and ashes. Birch trees hide loss among their branches. They tuck it behind their papery trunks, as if it is a game of hide-and-seek. Remember, I said, when we got lost in the woods? Yes. You were 8, I think. I was 7. It was just after my birthday. We spent the night out there, remember? Well, that was summer. I thought we were going to die. In the morning, I knew where we were. And why didn't you know it before? Said Cricket. You should have known. It was dark. You were so scared. Why weren't you scared, too? Everyone can't be scared at once. Someone has to be brave, said my sister, completing my sentence. Why do you get to be the brave one? Not always. Just then, I wasn't so scared. Everyone was out looking for us, said Cricket. Mama and Papa, they were so worried. Grandma Nellie, well, she said she was up all night. They all thought we'd drowned in the creek. I always wondered why they looked down there, I said. Because Grandma knew it was my favorite place. She and I would go there to count periwinkles and sea nettles. All you cared about was baseball. I liked sea nettles, too. They were all happy when they saw us. The sea nettles? No, Mama, Papa, Nellie and them. But not when they didn't see us, said Cricket. They weren't happy then. Which was how it was for her out looking for her daughter. It's not a hardship to be lost, I said. The hardship is not trusting that the world is there to help you no matter the problem. People are there for you always, even when they're not. How can that be, even when they're not? I just mean they are involved, even if they don't know it. They want to do better. You're so fucking optimistic. And you're not? Not always. Not when I'm stressed. Aren't you alive in the world? It's a mess we've made of things. I don't see it that way. Then you're living with your eyes closed. I knew she didn't mean it. I didn't mean that, she said. I know. But you've got to admit. I admit we pay attention to the wrong things far too much. We'd rather spend years with the messes we make than a brief moment committed to the life that supports us. Even that brief moment would give us ample wisdom to clean up those messes. We've got to trust something deeper in ourselves that is a guide. Cricket stopped walking. I think she liked my final word. At least she repeated it. Guide. You always have the right word. I've been telling Leah for years that she is my guide. We go to the shore. She points out shells I've never seen before. Shark's teeth, arrowheads, a coin from the Civil War. We go to the store. She finds the best greens. She's taken me on a tour of the hospital, places in the building I didn't even know existed. Where would I be without others? I wanted to say something. The moment slid by. Now it was dark among the trees, and we both were cold. Just up ahead, the opening to the pond. No moon yet, but soon. We'd been gone at least half an hour. Gotten nowhere, it seemed. Just in a circle, back to the beginning. We stepped through, saw the pond faintly gleaming with what light remained. There's leftover light after the sun. It clings to limbs, it hangs from the sky. It holds on for a moment longer, as if to help any stragglers home. The world is a help, that's all I'm saying. It'll do anything for us. And there at the side of the pond sat Leah waiting. She'd taken off her skates and waved when she saw our dark figures approach. "Where have you guys been?" she called. We drew near only to see her better. Cricket was happy again. We love the things we love for what they are, my friend Robert once told me. I think he's right. Leah held a feather that she wanted to show. Hawk! She tickled her mother with it. Well, it was Hawkeye, not Redtail. He dropped me off 10 minutes ago. I was beginning to think you'd left for home. We went looking, I said. Probably worried you, didn't I? No, Bunny, said her mother. It was all worth it. He didn't want to go so high, but when I explained we were only here a few days. The sunset is beautiful from above the trees looking down. You flew by heart, I said. By Hawkeye, you mean. You can see the Catskills one way, the Berkshires the other. He gave me this. It was a hawk feather, straight from the tail, a parting gift after an evening flight, which is a story for another time. Later that night, Olia braided her mother's hair. I watched her run her hands through, changing hair into a cord, twisting and strengthening the connection. The two of them in my house, with the secretive mouse and the fire-warmed air, with the feather of Hawkeye and the many worries of the world, with all of us a family. We form ourselves when we love one another. We start at some beginning, as far back as we can remember, when we were only strands. Who were we back then, riding our bikes, playing our games, learning the world for ourselves? And we take our individuality, we braid it with others, using our hands to touch, our hearts to hold. And there is no time when the work is done. How lucky is that? Theo, too. He builds upon whatever the experience. I could almost hear him sigh as he watched the braiding, seeing perhaps the hair of his own sister, not mine, not Cricket, but April-May, Mama, who had long, thick hair back when she was alive, and Theo having dwelt in death for a while, wondering where he has been his whole life. He longed to be a part of a more braided existence. I could hear it. I heard his breath late night in the room with the others. I heard him in the room, and yes, it was Theo, breathing through me, taking in the living world, releasing it back as much as he was able. Do I have a future, Oliver? That's my question. Theo said this as I watched Leah's hands do the work. You teach like a tree, a hawk, like a coyote by example. Still, I don't know. The brush and braid, the woven night all around. I'm running out of time to let you know, I said. I want to let you know, Theo, but it's not up to me. You keep taking away my scaffolding, Oliver. I fight against this endlessly. I'm holding on to the edge, fighting against what's out there. You say, let go. You say, fall. You say, we are all falling. Falling is our every move. You say, now, look at it differently. Falling is rising, if you turn yourself around. It's nothing to be afraid of. Why be afraid when in the end you will be disappointed in yourself for not being your true, courageous self? Courage lives in you, you say. Fear is but a visiting stranger who you must comfort with your confidence. Fall all you want. You will rise somewhere new. And that, Oliver, that is what you say. But it is words, only words. Sometimes they reach me, sometimes not. But you, Oliver, you reach me always by the example of yourself. Reach, teach, what's the difference? The work is hard here. The world is frozen, and your life, it still comes through easy and warm. Beneath my fear, the support is somehow fertile. It is fertile where I am because I always find you living, caring, trying to help me. If I could plant myself in your ground, if I could grow straight and tall and move toward the sun, if I could be the bud of you, just the bud, then maybe I could be someone. And now I see buds everywhere. Your mother, my sister, I see her now. She cooks with capers. I see caper buds, flower buds from the Mediterranean caper bush. Find the flower buds that are still tight, she tells me. You are there, not in the kitchen. You're outside running in circles with your sister. I don't know her name. I see the time, the circles, the buds, not the names. And not the ones just about to bloom, she tells me, though they too can be used, especially for medicinal purposes, to ease joint pains and help with coughs, she says. But find the tight buds, the right buds, the ones that are most delicious. And now that time is gone. It's another time with you. My sister knew all about buds just like you. She plucked them as food. She pickled them with salt. I didn't listen then. I'm listening now. What I hear from you is buds. You are their champion, a champion of becoming, an example of it, of flowers to be, of people to be. One person, someone, even me. Yes, even me, if I can make it so. A slow blossoming soul. How I want it. I wish to be on a branch in the world again. Oliver, I, too, am a bud in winter, longing for spring. Songbirds sing to me somewhere. Deer come to nibble. Sun comes through. Up early again, 4 in the morning. No lights on, no snow on the ground, not yet. Though all I see through the window is the dark, so how can I really tell? 3-day visit without much change in the weather. Cricket and Leah are sleeping. They leave this morning out of Albany. We didn't go skiing, we never ate out, didn't go to a hockey game or do any chores other than chopping wood, feeding the mouse, washing the dishes, staying up late. Sometimes we hiked the hills and valleys, looking for the coyote or Leah's friend Hawkeye. Never saw either again. Mostly we stayed close to home, near the fire. Cricket, as was our mother, is a beautiful cook. She uses spices like a pro and can sauté with the best of them. Her vegetarian mock crab casserole gets 5 stars from me. She has thrived during many winters by making the most of things, including delicious soups and breads, by seeing the world with an open heart, by picking up fossils when she finds them and handing over the life therein. I'll miss the walks and the meals. I'll miss them when they are gone. I'll keep the impressions as if cast in stone. Still, though, we move on, and though I may reflect, I've got something new to say. When the sun comes out, I may say it. Maybe when Leah and Cricket wake, that's when I will tell. This story on my mind. It's important, I think. It's important to see the abiding truth in everyone. Also important to take what you see into your heart and transform it into what you will now do. Transform it into willful acts. The world in all its towns and cities and landscapes relies upon the truth of each of our willful acts in order to progress. There's a signpost at the beginning of every tale. It reads, "Welcome," and it points onward. And confident as humanly possible, we make our way, thanks to all we experience, the light and dark of days, thanks to all that we transform in our hearts into willful acts. Winter Telling Story. The Chicomico Creek was frozen thick, so thick you could drive a tractor on it, which Mr. Bill did. He drove out, he drove far, and he did not go through. So seeing a man out walking on the ice wasn't a problem. At least, that was our belief. There he walked, the man, moving towards the mouth of the creek, the small human form with black clothes. He moved out toward the chop tank, after which would come the Chesapeake Bay. The scene attracted several clouds that gathered to observe. There was an island in the middle. Where would he go? Would he go around it? The clouds wondered. We wondered, too. My sister, 10, and I, 13, and our mother, who stood in between, we all looked at the man as he walked, admiring his courage, fearing ourselves that he might fall in, even though we all knew about Mr. Bill and his tractor. We knew the story of the two of them. We knew that the tractor had not gone through the ice, and that the tractor was heavy, and they'd gone out a mile or more. Came back safe and smiling, laughing even. Said he'd have gone even farther, Mr. Bill said it, but didn't want to run out of gas. That was his story, and it had a measure of excitement as he told it. Still, you worry for someone, for a tractor too. A tractor has no say. Listening to the story being told, you can worry even when you know the outcome. Your mind clenches and your body trembles some. You don't want them to fall in. You don't want anyone to die. I forgot to add that our dog, Jessica, was with us. She barked at the man. She wanted to go out onto the ice to follow him. Dogs just want to have fun. They don't concern themselves with worry, preferring what is actually happening now to what might go wrong in the near future. Dogs run towards adventures and people. They would chase a squirrel over anxiety any day. And our dog, Jessica, was no exception. The only thing holding her back was our mother's hand on her collar. Plus, Cricket had some treats in her pocket, which Jess could easily smell. And then she saw him, saw who he was. Our mother did. Maybe Jessica, too, who always had an eye on the lookout for a friend. And Mama knew. They both did. "It's Theo out there." "How can you tell?" I asked. "By his walk," she said. I had never thought that a walk could be so revealing. Since that day, however, I've discovered for myself that you can see in someone's step what is otherwise hidden in their stillness. "What if he falls in?" said Cricket, concerned. Our mother thought about this. "He knows what he's doing," she said. I heard her sigh. I saw her condensed breath leave her mouth. I watched that breath fog the world, then disappear. And there went my uncle, still heading off. The blue sky above and beyond him, the wide frozen creek beneath, the long way to get to the bay, let alone the horizon. And would it be frozen the entire way? That was my question. Was the whole bay frozen, the ocean too? Would he walk all the way across, I wondered? I imagined him going till we couldn't see him any more, till he was out of sight, out in the middle of the ocean somewhere, on the hard Atlantic, with its frozen waves, trapped-in ships, and all the fish, whales, and sea urchins locked in the dark, icy depths. I imagined the whole frozen ocean, unmoving and illiquid, as if it were a study in relief. And in my imagination, I saw my uncle, thanks to my good grades in geography, making it all the way to Morocco, or Portugal, depending on his route. It was fun to imagine it, though I didn't think about the actual devastation were the ocean really to be frozen. I didn't get what it would mean to the earth if the whole planet, not just the waters, was still as could be, waiting for warmth to return, for spring to thaw and unlock the life within. I, in my 13-year-old mind, as I looked out the creek, did not see a disaster, but rather an adventure in the works. I followed Uncle Theo as he walked in that imaginary world, him getting somewhere new, him, too, waiting for life to return. And maybe it would be amazing where he'd end up. Portugal, Morocco, Ireland even. More likely, it would just be where he needed to be, or thereabouts at least, because I knew he didn't like his yellow house back in town, didn't like Maryland much, even though it was close to us, and Grandma Nellie, his mother, even though Mama baked him cakes sometimes and tuna casseroles. We took him pies and meringues and her famous blueberry cobbler. Yum. But he didn't like visitors, especially ones bearing gifts. And his house was always a mess, with bottles of whiskey and cigarette butts and piles of clothes all over the place. And his car, with its radio that played only Beethoven, and with its high-pitched squeals when you turned to the right. Beethoven was about the only person Theo ever listened to. Schubert sometimes, but he called him Sherbert. And once in a while me. He would listen to me when the two of us went off in search of Harriet Tubman's old haunts, or to Cambridge to shoot pool on Promise Street. He didn't really like much of what he heard, though, not from me, it seemed. He didn't much like anything, I could tell. Maybe pool, maybe his boat, or that squeal of his car. Beethoven, yes. Sherbert, Tubman, orphans. Crabs, but not to eat. He did enjoy cigarettes and drinking beer, drinking whiskey right from the bottle, never in a glass. He loved complaining about the goddamn fucking world. Liked that a lot. But maybe I was seeing right then, looking out, his greatest love ever, better than alcohol, better than the Ode to Joy. We all watched Theo walking on ice. Maybe he liked going across, liked being on his own, dressed in dark, feeling the cold upon his face, hearing the wind blow past his ears, supported by the frozen world under his feet. Maybe going this way, he was getting some real satisfaction for himself, I thought. I trusted it could happen, because why not? Not everyone is like me, and I'm not like everyone either. Why not each person be able to find the thing he most needs? I knew Theo would get there. I liked him, even if he didn't know the difference between a foul ball and a fair one. I liked everyone, really, even Miss Huss, who gave me a B for not talking enough in class. I just wanted Theo to be himself and be happy. We all did. And if Mama said he knew what he was doing, then maybe he did. I trusted she knew a thing or two about her own brother. But what if he doesn't? Said Cricket. Doesn't what, sweetie? Know what he's doing. Well, that's the thing about everyone, Mama said. It's up to them to know. I can't know. You can't. They have to know it for themselves. And if they don't know it now, well, someday they will. Because as much as everyone is here to help, you've got to do your life yourself. I don't know if that is what my sister wanted to hear, but she didn't complain, and our mother did not say another word about it. And before we really had time to understand the whole situation any better, Uncle Theo was gone. We couldn't see him any more. Maybe he got to the island and was hanging out there for a bit. Or maybe he was out in the bay, or to the ocean already. Or else he had fallen in, broken through a patch of thin ice, and we'd never see him again. I mean, what were we thinking? Why didn't we do something to help? Why'd we just stand around and watch it happen? It made me sad to think I had done nothing, and that we would never, ever see him again. And my mother, sensing this, she put her hand on my shoulder. She took her hand off Jessica's collar and put it on me. "We better get home," she said. "We've all got things to do." So we stopped looking out. We began to do something different with our eyes and our minds and our feet. We turned to leave. We saw the world from a different perspective. And, miracle of miracles, upon turning, there he was, the man out walking on the ice, Uncle Theo himself. He stood right before us, tall in his black winter coat. Cricket ran to Theo and gave him a hug, which was just like her to do. Sometimes, sure, she was angry at you for doing dumb things, but in the end, she was always the most loving of all. "How'd you get here?" I said, not sure why I was the only one who seemed confused. Theo smiled, may have even laughed, like Mr. Bill when he came back with his tractor after having traveled across the ice. But Uncle Theo did not say a word. Sun on his face, his whole body lit. He put his hand on his heart, which we all took, to be a good thing, a revealing thing, like a step forward. When you are the voice of someone, the only means for them to talk, make sure your stories are true. I say this into the February morning, 5:42, not long before the sun. I say it soft, so to add beauty to life. I say these words with infinite hope, and I wait for a response, but get none at first. 5:44, 5:47, 5:51. Theo has been thinking about what I said. And finally, I hear, you say beauty. You say true. I say, it is only a story you tell. At best, it's made up. And at worst, a lie, and fucking ugly. Which bothers me immensely. Almost too much to bear sometimes, how he reverts to his old, stagnant self. But then I remember. I pull myself together. I put everything right. I leave nothing out. And I do not doubt. No, I say, not meaning to be negative. Positive capability, that's what I mean to show. It is not only a story. It's a willful act of life. You are right that a story can just be words sometimes. But if you put every word, if you put every one in your heart and hold them there, if in your heart you transform each word and every one into willful acts of life, well, somehow you begin to see the story not so much as a story anymore. You see it as a truth of human experience. And I think about this. Theo does too, I can tell. And I want to say more, because somewhere in the more of my words lives the gist of it all. It is working towards love. There, I have said it. And still I go on. Love itself might not need work, but it does need us, so it may be known in the world. Love, Theo. Each step we take or cannot take, each hand we give or fail to give, love is the thing, the always thing, that we are doing on earth, that we on earth are here to do.